If you spent the next 60 days doing nothing else besides what I'm about to show you, you would get more dream clients that would pay you every single month, and you could charge a whole lot more so that you could go full-time as a travel content creator. And the best part is you don't have to build a huge social following or constantly sell every single month in order to be able to do it. And in fact, if you implement this, it's gonna put you ahead of 99% of other travel creators in the entire world. So in this video, I'm gonna show you what it is, how to use it, some examples of real life clients that I have personally that have implemented it to get epic results. And if you stay to the end, I'll give you a little bonus so you can generate far more sales doing it for yourself. But first, what the heck even is this thing and why is it so freaking powerful? So the reason this is so powerful is because of this. So have you ever closed a client? Maybe it was one of your biggest projects to date and you're super stoked about the project and you put all your time, effort, energy into planning the project, the shoot logistics, the mood boards, the proposals, all this kind of stuff. And then you get on the shoot and you do an amazing job, and then you spend time editing it and rounds of revisions and client feedback, and you're just trying to make sure the client is super happy so you can get the next job. But then you get to the end of the month and you're like, oh crap, I have no idea where my next client is coming from. So you're kind of stuck in this weird limbo where you haven't gotten paid yet for the job you just finished, but you also don't know where your next client is coming from. And it's this really terrible, weird situation that a lot of freelancers, including myself, find themselves in. And it's honestly what makes a lot of us go out of business. So when you're in this situation, what you do is you end up frantically trying to search for new business. You send emails, you hit up all your contacts, maybe you even start posting on social media until you finally close your next client. And then guess what? You have to put all your time and effort into getting them great results so that hopefully you'll get hired again. But it ends up being this weird catch-22 where you work on a project with a client and you have no time to get new clients. But if you're spending your time getting new clients, you're not getting paid because you're not doing a project. So what's the answer? Well, what if there was a way where you knew that you would get paid month after month on the same day without having to constantly sell new clients or wait on obnoxious like net 30 or net 90 pay schedule? And what if you could focus most of your time and energy on the things that you actually care about and got into this industry to begin with for, like being creative, doing shoots, that kind of stuff, instead of selling, but you could still have the confidence in knowing that you have a consistent income coming in every single month. So you can start to think of it kind of like a salary that's uncapped. And the only way that I have found to do this is by implementing retainers for your clients. So implementing retainers is going to do a few things. Obviously, it's going to give more predictability to your income, but it's also going to allow you to jump off the sales grind of constantly pitching, selling, making proposals, all that kind of stuff, only to sell a client and get paid once. And ultimately, it's going to allow you to have more time freedom so that you can focus on passion projects or just other client projects that you want to do. And you can do all of this simply by just making a service that clients want to pay you for on a monthly consistent basis. So to give you a quick example of how powerful this concept is, recently my client Andrew raised his monthly recurring income, this is income he gets every single month, to $18,000 a month by working with resorts and restaurants. So now instead of doing cheap one-off projects with brands that he would consistently have to try to sell and convince to work with him again and again, he's pitched retainer projects where it's a win-win. He gets predictable income, the client gets consistent content that ideally leads to more sales for them. So that sounds great and all, but the question is, how do you actually get a client to pay you multiple times or month after month? And to be honest, it's a really tricky part. It's probably the hardest part of this industry because it's hard enough to get somebody to pay you once, let alone every single month. And that's honestly why most freelancers end up going out of business, because they get tired of the grind of constantly having to sell. But the good news is, in this video, I'm going to show you how to completely obliterate the learning curve and know exactly who to sell to, what to sell, how much to sell it for, so ultimately you can just copy and paste this into your business and start getting your own retainer clients. But before we get into that, let's just define what the heck even is a retainer. So a retainer is really just a preset package of content that you offer a brand on a monthly consistent basis. So it's good for you because you get the predictability of consistent income, but it's also good for the brand because they have the consistent content that ideally leads to more sales, either through ad creatives, organic social, product photos, whatever it might be. So the first thing we need to think about is who we're selling the retainer to, because it really doesn't matter how talented you are or how good your content is. If you're not selling to somebody who actually needs it, then it's going to be virtually impossible to sell. So in order to illustrate what makes a great retainer client, I'll just tell you a quick story. So recently I closed this outdoor adventure company, and basically they approached me originally just wanting to do a one-off kind of affiliate deal type of project, but I ended up getting them on a call because I just wanted to talk through their company, what their goals were, how I could potentially support them, all that kind of stuff. So if you're not getting your clients on calls, you definitely need to be able to do that. So anyways, I got them on the call, started asking questions, tried to figure out kind of where they're at right now, where they're trying to get to, what their goals are, and it immediately became apparent that in order to achieve the growth goals they were after, they needed a ton more content than what they currently have. So to be honest, they were a startup. They had been around for about a year, but they had done a rebrand, so the product had been around for a few years, but the most recent year they had done a couple $1 million in revenue. So they definitely had the budget, but they were well aware that they needed to invest in some kind of content in order to be able to support the growth. So after having this conversation, they understood that they needed consistent ad creatives. They needed to level up their social media. They even needed new product photos for some of their packaging, stationery that they would add to their packaging, even website photography, all this kind of stuff. So the key thing I want you to take away from this is that there's two characteristics of every great retainer client. The first is that they have a very clear need and desire to grow that is being facilitated by consistent content. If they need content consistently, that means they'll be willing to pay you consistently. And the second thing is that they have both a budget and, more importantly, a willingness to invest into the growth of their company. Now, a lot of brands have the budget, but the willingness is the key here. And the reason that this brand had the willingness is because they understood the value that I was actually offering them. See, because we can have the absolute perfect client, they can have the budget, they can have a clear need, but unless they see the value in what you're offering them, they're never gonna buy from you. So this means that we have to package something of real tangible value that we can offer the brand on a consistent basis so that they actually want to pay us. Now brings up the question of what is value, right? Because people throw that around all the time, but most creators don't actually offer packages that are valuable. They'll say something like, I'll give you 7 videos for $2,500. But the problem is when you phrase it that way, saying 7 videos is not that valuable to a brand because they can find some intern to shoot 7 videos on their iPhone and post it, right? They're not paying you for videos, they're paying you for a result. So instead of our pitch being, I'll give you 7 videos for $2,500, we actually have to find the core problem that we need to solve for the brand so that they'll be willing to pay us to solve that problem. So we need to identify 2 things. Number 1, what the problem even is, and number 2, how we can solve that problem with our content. So just from a very basic standpoint, companies just exist to make money. So how do they make money? They get customers. People pay them money for a product or a service, right? In most companies, most brands, most products, most services have a funnel that their customers have to go to in order to go from being an absolute stranger on the internet to handing over their credit card information. And usually it's 3 phases. So the first phase is where the customer even just becomes aware that the product or the company exists. So they go from having no idea who the company is to, oh wow, they actually exist. Typically this is done through ads, maybe viral organic content, stuff like that. The second phase is when the customer is actually aware of the product, but now they're learning more about it. Maybe they're even comparing it to other options on the market. So this is when we talk about features, benefits, and just generally educate the person about the product. So this is what we call the education phase. Now the last stage, the third phase of this funnel, is when somebody is maybe on a website or in a position to be able to make a purchase, and we just need to get them over the edge so that they make that buying decision. And this is called the conversion phase. So going back to the pain point, typically brands are gonna have a pain point in at least one of those 3 phases. And it's really pretty easy to identify, so I'll show you how to do it. So if you do some research and the brand is not really running ads, they're not posting consistent engaging content, and by consistent engaging, I mean people actually care about it, then they probably have a problem in the awareness phase. So you'll probably pitch them something along the lines of ad creatives, organic content, anything to get more awareness and attention towards the brand. Now, if they maybe have that, but they aren't really showcasing the features, the benefits, doing product comparisons, or just general reasons why somebody should actually purchase their product, then that's a problem in the education phase. It means that maybe somebody comes to their page, they see an ad, but then they don't really know much about the product and they aren't really that invested in it. So therefore, they don't go to the website. They don't really care. So that is a position where you can start to pitch more organic social content that actually helps nurture and engage and educate their audience. Now, the last phase is the conversion phase. So if a lot of people are going to the website, maybe off of ads, maybe just through clicking link in bio, something, it doesn't matter how people get to the website. But if they're going to the website and the conversion rate is really terrible, and by terrible, I mean less than 2% of the people that are going to the website actually make a purchase, then in that case, it's a conversion issue. So that it could have something to do with website copy, but more often than not, it actually has more to do with the content on the website. Do they have quality product photos? Do they have a product walkthrough? Do they answer the FAQs and actually show the product in use and different use cases, all that kind of stuff? And if they don't, then that's where the problem lies. So all you have to do do as a creator is just identify what that problem point is for the brand and then just sell them the content that solves that problem for them. Now, sometimes it's obvious, like if you don't see that they run ads or they're terrible with their consistency, then that's an obvious sign that they're lacking the attention. But sometimes it's not as obvious, so sometimes you do have to get on the call and actually ask the questions to the brand in order to be able to figure out what that problem point is. And this leads us to the last factor of retainers, which is now that we know who to sell it to, what to sell, how much do we sell it for? Like I would much rather sell one client and get paid 12 times than 12 clients and get paid once. It's just no-brainer math to me. So just as an example of how this can very easily compound with very few clients, say you're selling a $3,500 retainer package. If you sell one client at $3,500 a month, you keep them on retainer for 12 months, that's $42,000 a year. Now let's say we add one more client. So a total of 2 clients at $3,500 a month, that's $84,000 for the entire year. So you can quickly see how you really only need 3, maybe 4 retainer clients to make a really solid 6-figure income with this model. And keep in mind, we're selling 4 clients a year instead of like 20 clients a year. And I think a lot of this mentality kind of comes out of fear because people don't actually understand the value that they're giving the brand. They just kind of spit out a number and just hope and pray that the brand is going to want to pay it because they'll magically see the value, but they don't actually know how to show the value. But showing the value is actually really simple. So if you can just show a brand how investing $3,500 a month with you can result in anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 a month in sales for them, then that's like a 5 to 10x investment, which is good by any stretch of the imagination. And most brands will want to invest as long as you can actually prove that that is the case. So now that you know who to sell to, what to sell, and how much to charge, I actually put together a full guide of 10 ready to pitch content retainers specific to the travel industry that you can literally copy and paste into your business as soon as today. So it's going to tell you exactly the client avatar of who to pitch, what their problem points are, how to expose them. It's going to show you the exact deliverables you should offer, and more importantly, how those deliverables help the brand overcome the problem that they're facing. And then lastly, it's going to give you a full breakdown of the pricing for those deliverables. And as a bonus, I'm adding in optional upsells that you can add on that sometimes are even on a monthly basis or sometimes a one-time, but they're complementary to the retainer, so the brand gets even more value and you make more money. So again, it's about as copy and paste as you can possibly get. You can literally just download it and start implementing it as soon as today. So if you want to grab that, you can check out the link in the description below, the 10 content retainers, and it'll take you right to that page. So now that you know what to sell, you need to have a solid plan in place in order to be able to find, pitch, and land your next content client. And if you don't have a plan in place, then check out this video here where I break down my entire content sales process.